Hi. This is Roy Schilt from the King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. I'm standing guard, protecting the integrity of video game players everywhere. I hate to see anyone get chumpatized. I hope you enjoy the Scene World podcast.
What's up, everyone? It is the Scene World
podcast.
My name is AJ. His name is Jurg.
Hello.
In a second, we are talking to a lot of people from MystiTech, and these are the people responsible for The Lost Art. It's a YouTube series, or it's a series on YouTube, which is, they're in their third season, I think, and it's entirely done using Myst, one of the versions of Myst, and I couldn't tell you what version of that it is if you asked me, even though I've actually been doing some stuff with them after this podcast was done. So yeah, it's big. It's a big one. It was maybe our longest that we've ever done, and
right.
It's also probably the most people we've had in a call at once. And it's going to be a little, if you're watching the video version of this, it can be a little confusing at times from a visual standpoint because of the way that Skype records video, and people will kind of pop in and out and depending on who's speaking and stuff. And there's not much we can do about that because whether we're using Skype's built-in cloud recording or we're using the call recorder that we normally use for this, that's just like there's a limited number of streams that Skype sends. It's technical. Don't worry about it. There's not much we can do. It is what it is.
Right. Well, since July, what we could do now, as we did with the live stream at Gamescom, recording the screen of having up to 9 videos at once. But this was recorded before July.
Yeah.
This option wasn't available back then.
Mm-hmm. And this is roughly corresponding, this release, with their newest episode, which should be releasing in early November. I'm not going to give an exact date because it could change depending on factors.
Exactly. Yes. Because of the different time zones people are living in, there are 2 parts of this interview with different people attending.
Yeah, right. So, yeah. It's a complicated video. It's a complicated interview. But it's an interesting project that everyone should take a look at. Before we do that, though, that's there. We're going to do some news stuff.
Right.
Like we normally do. And we've actually got a few. The last have been sort of paltry, our news sections. We've actually got some things.
Yeah, last time we only had like 3 or 4 bits, but now we got some more.
Yeah, so...
not a lot happened this year due to COVID, and people are seemingly catching up on their projects now.
Yeah, you would think that, being stuck at home because, of lockdowns and quarantines, that, there would be a glut of games and such. But one that I will bring up right away, which is one of my bits, is there is a game for the 64 which is being worked on called Wildwood. And it is a platform adventure game with seriously, like, fantastic, beautiful C64 graphics, and it now has its own website, so you can check out the development of the game and where it is and see the graphics and all that stuff at www.wildwoodgame.co.uk. We'll put links down there and stuff for it.
Nice.
Looks like a really good game. I'm actually I'm impressed by this. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah, other news is there is a new board game Kickstarter coming out called Billionaire's Money, and they actually said they are going to send me a review copy of the board. So probably in another intro of this podcast, we will talk about this when I received it.
Okay.
And perhaps play it on my own because
Yeah.
this was the lockdown. Let's see. Anyway, this news came in over Twitter, so thanks for that. Yeah. Another bit that came over Chris Abbott is that also the second half of the 8-Bit Symphony Kickstarter is coming up.
Okay.
So we are putting a link to that as well. Thanks to Chris Abbott for this news entry.
Nifty.
Nifty.
Said it again. Nifty is not a cool word, and I keep saying it over and over again, and it disturbs me greatly.
I can edit it out, no problem.
No. We'll just. I'll own my poor choice of word. It makes me feel old to say things like nifty.
Okay, well, that's
like,
cool.
Wow, that's rather keen, son.
Well, and the other news, that came from David, our webmaster. He's also involved in the Italian paper magazine, Retro Magazine world, and they released an English edition.
Slow down. Retro Magazine World?
That's what it says here. And they released an English edition of issue 3.
Okay. Nice.
I mean, the magazine is called Retro Magazine. I don't know why in the announcement it says get your free copy of Retro Magazine World 3. Perhaps it's a translation error from the Italian. I don't know.
Maybe. I was going to say. It's normally in Italian.
Yeah. And they do English versions. And the Retro Magazine... Oh, actually, I opened it. It says Retro Magazine World on the front cover. So not a translation error.
Okay, so it's Retro Magazine World.
Yeah, I didn't know that before, because in our last news bits when we released info about a new issue, we always said Retro Magazine, never Retro Magazine World.
But is it a magazine about retro magazines?
Well, it's just about retro stuff.
Because a magazine called Retro Magazine World, you would think it would be about the world of retro magazines.
No, I don't. No, not at all.
Or even like retro magazine, like you know.
We are called Scene World, and we are not about the demo scene.
Well, true. Well, no, we were about the overall scene altogether, but
exactly.
But I mean, like, if you had a magazine called, like, you know, like autos, it would be about cars, you know, or Car World. You know, this is like naming the magazine.
I have no idea why they decided to name it.
It's like writing a book called Book.
I have no idea. Yeah. Anyway, link to the PDF will be in the podcast description. Other pieces of news: Captain Crunch is under surgery at the moment again. So he has again a Captain Crunch healing fund on GoFundMe. So John, I hope you recover. And all the best. I mean, in this year, the last thing you want to be is in a hospital.
Yeah.
But hey, we know he has back issues and stuff and needs every now and then surgery.
We've lost too many people this year so far. Let's try not to lose any more.
Exactly. So good luck, John.
Yes.
Yeah, he has a goal of $25,000, and so far he reached roughly 5,000. I guess in a year like COVID-19 year, the contributions are slow because people are struggling themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other piece of news is that there will be a gala from the Retro Game Club the playable museum in Hamburg, which you
Yes.
can find at retrospieleclub.de. And on the 5th of December, the Retro Compot podcast will make a live show on Twitch.
Hmm.
Yep.
Nice.
So if you want to
Where
be
we've been on them before.
Right. So if you want to be a part of that gala, again, it starts at the 5th of December, 12 p.m. Central European Time at the retro_compot Twitch channel.
Speaking of galas and stuff, there's a Syntax 2020, the party, the scene party, usually takes place, I believe, in Australia.
Exactly.
It is
The
going
past
to be.
years we got from Andrew, we got party reports from that.
Yes.
Party.
Well, it's virtual this year. It will be done online. So that actually is, one of the interesting things about this is that it enables people to, like I'm going to attend it, even though I'm in the U.S. And one of the good things that has come out of COVID is like the fact that it is a lot of stuff is going online and virtual. Like I was able to do Gamescom this year, even though I didn't have to go to Germany.
Yeah, but you plan to go to Germany anyway.
Yes, I wanted to actually go to it this year, but
so now you have to save the money for next year.
Yeah, well,
or probably the year after, 2022.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit, but I mean, So I mean, that's one of the cool things about that, and so this will be. And I'm not sure what the date is. We'll put a link to where you can go and register for it and stuff if you want to check it out.
Nice.
So that is there's a lot of this stuff that is now going virtual, and I feel like it opens the door to people that normally would never have been able to get there.
We will see how things turn out after COVID-19. Anyway, last bit of news I have got is from iFixit. iFixit we spoke to without HG, unfortunately, because they changed the appointment 5 times. Because iFixit people are really very busy people. And they released a news bit on their blog about the end of the repairable iPhone, because the iPhone 12 doesn't allow you to switch cameras, because if you do, the camera will stop working.
Yeah. Well, it was only a matter of time. We figured it was going to get worse with the fixing it.
Well, but also by 2030, Apple wants to be climate neutral, which makes you wonder how will that happen if their phones are unrepairable. But anyway, let's be honest. After a year or so, somebody will figure out a way to resolve this, either, or the scandal will be so big that they will revert this lock. I mean, the same happened with the screen lock and with the touch button lock. The shitstorm was so big in both cases that they removed the screen lock and the touch sensor lock via a firmware update.
Right.
But
that's the upside.
They keep trying,
Yeah, I mean, that's the upside, is that you can always fix or change a lot of the stuff through firmware later on, or just software updates. They can address a lot of it.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, I have an iPhone 7 Plus, which I will sell this year on eBay because I just ordered a 12.
Oh, hey, look at you, fancy.
And
that's quite a jump, 7 to 12.
I know. Yeah, but I mean,
quite a few.
Let's face it. The last iPhones were so expensive, and they didn't have cheaper iPhones. That I said, like, no, I'm not going to invest thousands of euros just for a new phone. And then a lot of people started using their phones for 3 or 4 years, and that is why Apple now has 4 models each year: the iPhone 12 mini, the iPhone 12, which is the normal one, Pro, which is the same as the iPhone but with more feature, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max.
Yeah.
That means now for every price segment there is a phone. Cheap, normal, expensive, super expensive.
Apple today is feeling quite a bit like Apple of the mid 90s, with a ton of different models that are getting confusing at this point. It's when they got 14 different Power Macs, and it's all just like the 6420 and the 6380 and all this stuff, and it's like, well, what's the difference? Nobody can tell the difference between what any of these are.
Yeah, but for the iPhone it's pretty much clear. I mean, mini, normal, Pro Max.
It seems to go. It goes against the general. Like Steve Jobs liked there to be a consumer and a professional version of each thing. So he took all the stuff and he cut it down to like a desktop and a laptop, consumer and professional. So like at the time it was the iBook and the PowerBook, and then the iMac and the Power Mac, and that was it. The only machines they make.
Well, the thing is that Android so much took the market for the cheaper segment that Apple felt it wants to have a share here too. I mean, that is why now you have also not only an iPhone mini, but also an Apple Watch SE.
Yeah, right. Something that I also don't own and don't plan to.
Yeah, well, I have an Apple Watch. Anyway,
I like Apple. I use Apple as my main computer. It's my laptop that I'm using right now to do this. But just I have soured on every other aspect of Apple aside from the computer.
Yeah. Anyway, what I wanted to make here as a point is that what happened with my iPhone 7 Plus is I had, over the 4 years, I had to exchange a lot of things like the screen because the touch sensor broke.
Yeah.
No, I mean the touch element of the screen broke. And then I also exchanged the backside of the iPhone because I prefer red over black. And also the battery on the 7 Plus is really bad. And despite Apple support told me like, no, according to the diagnostics, your battery is fine. But despite it only had 75% of capacity loss, that means I had 25% less than 100%.
Yeah.
I could watch it train every second while I was listening to music. And then after some minutes, it went down from 100 to 0.
Yep.
So I said, okay, I don't care if Apple support things. The battery is fine. I went to a third-party repair, and I got a third-party battery, a high-capacity battery, the only one that I think it's called Bleus, and the only one that on YouTube reviews from users got very, very raving reviews about being very, very good and better than Apple. And what happened is I had iOS 13. It was detected correctly, and it was recalibrated to 100%. It's all fine. And with the jump from iOS 12 to iOS 13, it suddenly showed me, instead of 100% capacity, 68. And a service message.
Yeah.
Please book an appointment at the Apple store.
Yep.
I'm like, okay. So Fortunately, I was doing a screenshot to show a friend the difference between the old battery and the new battery before I made the iOS update. That means I have a screenshot to prove it for eBay when I'm going to put it up on eBay.
Right.
So people can't say like, the battery is crap.
Right.
Yeah. So that will be interesting. It will be my first iPhone. I will be not selling as used, but as refurbished. As half of the phone has been replaced with other parts.
Yeah.
I wonder if this will make the value bigger because it's new parts, or if people will say the value is less because it's not the original part.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of custom.
For me, I would say the value is better because it will most likely not break, as all the parts that usually break has already been replaced.
Yeah.
So the phone should be more reliable now.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all my news bits so far.
I've got another one. I got one here for it's from there is a clone board for the ZX Spectrum Next, which has just been announced by RetroShop. And they are going to start taking pre-orders. They should be, by the time that this podcast comes out, they should be taking pre-orders for this.
And what kind of board is it?
It's for the ZX Spectrum Next.
Okay.
So I guess it's a clone of a clone, because wasn't the Spectrum Next like the remade? Wasn't that like a new version of it? The Sinclair ZX Spectrum Next is a modern 8-bit home computer, backwards compatible with the ZX Spectrum in software and hardware, but also featuring enhanced capabilities. So so there was. So it's a Spectrum clone.
Compatible to the original hardware. Even.
Yes,
okay.
in FPGA. It's an FPGA version. It's because it says the CPU is a Z80, but it's implemented in FPGA. So this is now a clone of that board. So basically, it's almost like taking the Ultimate 64 and making a clone of the Ultimate 64 board.
Okay.
And that's going to cost 115 euros, and will be available at the Myster shop at ultimatemyster.com. So you can put a link there.
Nice. Oh yeah, and also from
which we learned in the last podcast, incidentally, that Myst in German means shit, correct?
Yeah.
Which and did we figure out whether Mister meant shitter?
No, doesn't.
Mister doesn't mean anything in German.
Mister is not a German word.
But this has nothing to do with the people we're talking to, because that's Myst with a Y. Different Myst.
Yeah. True. Yeah, well, the creator of the Myst actually is German.
Yes. I know.
And he decided for this name regardless.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing in the last podcast. Was he obviously knew what this meant when he named it? So
yeah.
But
he wanted to be foggy about it.
Yeah. and once again, we've gotten kicked off iTunes.
Right. So okay. Anyway, from our last guest before the last one, Petro Planas.
Yes.
He released a new video today called "Typical Game Music You Listen to in today's video games.
That's that's a pretty long title. That's
Yeah. He writes, I made a video where you can listen to typical game music that you normally would listen to in video games today. It is similar to a video I made before, but different themes. Hope you enjoy it a lot.
Okay.
So, hope you do too. We will link to that as well.
Also, Dave Murray, the 8-bit guy, put out Planet X2 he's put out a version of this game for pretty much everything.
Wow.
Protovision has enhanced it, and released it as Planet X 2.1.
Wow.
For the 64. It's
so perhaps I should order it then, because I have the first version.
Yeah,
so go and enjoy the mystical talk.
Yes, and we're intentionally not like talking about who we're talking to yet, because it's going to change throughout the thing. During the interviews we'll be telling you y'all know who we're talking to.
Exactly. I'm explaining it at the
personal level. Yeah.
Exactly. Alrighty.
Yes.
Yeah. Today we are talking to the creative group of MystiTech, at least a part of the group, and you are producing a series using Myst Online as an engine for that. And if I'm not mistaken, it's called Uru.
Yeah, it has two names: Myst Online, Uru Live.
Thank you. And so today we are talking to Nora. Hello.
Hello.
And you are the co-creator, co-writer, project director, dialogue editor, avatar operator, and you voice Morgan.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then we also got Graham Lee. You are member of SBF, occasional cameraman, avatar operator, and you voice Thomas.
Yes.
And we also got Christian Swang, who is composer, and you voice Andy.
Yes, that's me.
And we know you from another interview we had with Nerds and Geeks before. And we also have Cesare.
Cesare?
Pardon?
Cesare. It's fine.
Hard to pronounce. Yeah. Brazilian names, not my easiest. You are cameraman, editor, and you voice Viterio.
Yeah.
Say your name. You always have to say it so beautifully.
Vittorio Brunetto.
Yes. Morgan asks him that when she first.
Twice.
She keeps saying, "What? Who are you? Who are you?"
Yeah. Well. Most people don't understand that my name is pronounced Jörg. Everybody calls me George or something like. No, I'm not George. So I'm perfectly understand this problem, And I had some Brazilians call me Georgie. I'm like, no, I'm not Georgie. I'm not George. I'm Jörg. Really, seriously.
Did you ever get Jorge?
Yeah, that's also famous in Latin America, I heard.
He's not Brazilian. He's Italian.
Oh, okay. Wow. See, so many mistakes with names today. Wow. So let's start a bit with how did you actually get the idea of creating a series, putting that up on YouTube for people to watch using an online game engine? That's totally special, I guess.
Okay. I took notes because everybody knows my memory is crap. In August of 2009, I contacted, I don't know if you've ever heard of Sven Groth. He's a Let's Player on YouTube. He was doing a PhD in Japan, and he did his first Let's Play on Riven, which is the second game in the Myst franchise. And being a Mac person, the only Myst game I'd never been able to play was Uru Complete Chronicles. So I wrote to Sven on YouTube and said, "Oh, please do Complete Chronicles next, because I've never been able to play it." So we just started writing to each other. And in February 2010, Cyan bought, I don't know, they received the rights back. The rights had gone to another company and they got them back and they put the game up for free. And someone had made it, there was a way that Mac users could play. So Sven and I met for the first time down at the docks. And he had this brilliant idea to connect on Skype because he said, in case anything happens, which would happen a lot because I never could make any of the jumps and I fell off. Anyway. And so we
by the docks, you mean in the game by the docks?
Yeah.
You didn't just meet by some shady docks by a warehouse somewhere to discuss this.
Shady. And I always like to say, Sven and I met at the docks. And all the time when I finally got into the game, I just was bowled away by the surroundings, and I kept saying to Sven, let's make a movie. It's amazing in here. And he was doing a PhD, and he just couldn't. He said it would be just too much work, which it is. But then after we played the game, we decided to make a Let's Play. So we made a Let's Play that took us 6 months to make because he was in Japan and I'm in Britain, and the only time we could film was on a Sunday night for him. It was Sunday morning for me, Sunday night for him. So it took us 6 months to do this 100-episode Let's Play. And right after it was finished, I got a message on YouTube saying, "Oh, hi, I'm Frank Zavelberg. I thought that was wonderful. Let's do something together." So I wrote back to him and I said, and that was on December 31st, because we always celebrate that every December. I said, "Oh, have you ever played the game?" And he said, "No." So we went in to play the game, and I was in the egg room. Which won't mean anything to you guys, but it would mean something to these guys. I was in the egg room and Frank kept crashing out of the game. But again, we were connected by Skype. So he's cursing and rebooting the game. And I'm standing in this room and the idea for The Lost Art comes to me in the room. Yeah, stuck in the room looking at the egg. I had the idea. And so that started a month of the most insane emailing back and forth. I mean, just all these ideas. And we had reams of emails. And finally, Frank said to me, "We need a secretary." So Sven and I did another live stream on Twitch. And during that, I said, "Is anybody interested in joining this project?" I don't know if you can remember, Graham. Did we specifically say to be the secretary?
No, you said you wanted a science person, from what I remember.
Graham totally saved my life because he wasn't the first person to join. The first person to join was this Polish guy, which is why Zarek Mazarowski has a Polish name, because he was going to play Zarek. But Graham joined the day after. And Frank wrote to me and he said, "Oh, this guy I can talk physics to. I so hired him for our project." So Graham and Frank started. I don't think you called it the SBF until Joanne joined. Did it?
Yeah, we finally found a name for ourselves,
which stands for Science Bullshit Factory, which is basically.
So just to get this, so you actually create scientific realities for the game.
Well, the way I describe it is the technobabble.
Yeah.
For the story. So we at least try to make things make sense.
Plausible technobabble.
Okay.
To varying degrees of success, but.
And Frank was very keen that the science, to find scientific explanations for things. And the other thing we were determined from the beginning was to have movie realism rather than game realism, which now Chessboard a youngster in our group. He's only been with us 2 years, even though he's taken over most of the jobs. But we didn't want to reference the game at all. We wanted people to feel like they were in a story. So we cut out a lot of things which were only game references. And we also set, because people hold the Myst lore as sacred, a lot of it, and we set our story in 2040 when all the events that had been in the game were over, long over.
Well, I'm an original Myst player myself, so I can totally understand that. Yeah. but as I said, we also let our youngsters take the most jobs when they join. Interestingly, I had the chance to be with you while you were shooting, and you said one thing that was you want to have a movie realism rather than game realism, and I found it interesting that you have to position like exactly on a millimeter on the position you need to be, because as soon as the character talks, he moves his head and he would look beside the camera. And I know Cassaray, we were like, no, go a bit to the left, go a bit to the right. Like, oh my God. So I think
the avatar has a tendency to look sideways, so we need to rotate the avatars.
Exactly. So I was like, oh my God, this amount of patience you need to not scream and run out of the room because of so much work. It's amazing. It takes hours for just a few minutes, I noticed, and that's crazy.
But and maybe Cesare can explain a little bit more. I will just bring it up and he can explain it. But we got a new version. I want you to explain about the Uru engine that allows us to do things like save our positions. So we can now make a mark. We can save, as long as one of our avatars is turned into what we call a bot, we can save our positions. And that means, so when we play out the scene and then we want to shoot from another angle, we just say, go back to this position, and our avatar is right back in that position.
Yeah, initially we using the standard client. At some point they started using what's called the internal client that has some admin access. I can perform some operation like moving the avatar beyond walls and stuff like this, which it can be done. It's allowed with some limitations. So we use all areas, not non-public areas, and so this was the internal client, and to the internal client, Pierre added some script that also had this function of saving the position of the avatar, adding lights. Another function that was added at some point to the internal client itself was saving clothings.
Yeah.
It's really saved a lot of time changing. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we lost an avatar or we need to quickly change position. So before it was already go back to change, to remake completely the outfit, and now we can just load it and go on in a second.
Yeah, because colors were a big thing.
Yeah,
making sure the colors were right, because it's a color slider.
Yeah,
it's not a multiple choice; it's a color slider. You have to make sure the shape is correct.
2D slide, not just one slide, but it's 2D. So and it's not really precise. It's not numeric.
Wow. But it also saves. It doesn't just save the clothes. It saves the avatars. So you can turn into all of the all of the Xerics usually look alike, but we've had problems with that. So we have to do a face check, because sometimes when you switch these avatars around, you get these big, what we call fat face, and we say, somebody has to go and stand in front of the avatar and make sure they look like the client. But we've had to refilm so much because of continuity errors with having just so much. Whereas this save clothes, load clothing makes all the difference. It just has changed our what we can film in a Saturday.
Do we want to talk about a particular aspect that's on every single character that we always forget to remove?
Yes. Well, yeah, tell me about that, Graham.
Oh, every character in the game in Myst Online has a book, which is like a little teleportation thing they have on their belt, and it's always on the character model. In our setting, nobody should have access to these books. So we had a script to remove the book, and none of us would ever remember to do it. So you would always look, whenever you're in the editing process or when you're just looking at a scene that you've just filmed, there'd always be someone with a book still attached to their
We need to
belt.
redo the entire scene. Why?
Yep.
Everyone has the book.
Yep.
Chesra streams, well, as you noticed when you were there, York, he streams the filming, and you programmed into your something. I don't know what you programmed in, but it flashes up. Remember to remove your photo book. So
Just modify the script.
Yeah, because even with our new, your new loading for clothing sets and characters, it doesn't get rid of the book, so you have to always still remember. So
I find it impressive that the manufacturer gives you access to internal beta clients, as you said earlier, and even supports you despite you doing something that game was not meant to be used for.
They are a little nervous of us doing it, and there have been some problems.
Open source, right?
Well, that's mainly because it was released as open source in 2011, something like that. The client, not the server. But,
okay.
So the source is available and it can be compiled.
Your own game.
Oh, I guess you were talking over each other now.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
What did I say?
Either you or Graham.
Okay, I'm done.
Jezreel knows more about what he's talking about than I do.
So say what you wanted to say, Chesra.
So the source is available, so it can be compiled either as the standard client or the internal features.
Okay, that is the reason. Okay, so you already had the access to it, basically, kind of, because you had access to the open source.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
It has been updated during the years by a fan group called Guild of Writers.
Okay. But I think one of you told me that you have kind of support, but now you said they are getting a bit nervous about the instability of the universe or something.
No,
that sounds weird.
I want to tell you, we spent an enormous amount of money and time sending them this huge package. This was before your time, Chesra. What date was that? We sent this letter off to Cyan with all the scripts and with a disc of oh yes, that's when we did the pitch. When we did the pitch, we did 2 versions because we did a pitch to get more people involved. So Graham and Matt and Asher, who can't be here, were the first people that joined. Oh, and Andy, who's not here. Andy Birnbaumer, he was the second person to join. He was another editor. And we had to get more people. So we did this pitch. And we did 2 versions. We did one for the fans, and we did one for Cyan, which is really saying, I hope you're going to let us, do this. And so we sent them, and I had it all printed up beautifully and pictures and everything. And I sent it off, and it was never heard of again. Then I suppose episode 5 is gone. So in episode 5, something happens in episode 5 because maybe we'll get some fans from your interview. So I don't want to, it's a spoiler. Something happens in episode 5, and I had to contact a member of Cyan, Chogan, to ask him to do something on the server for us.
Wow.
and he said he would do it not on the main server, the public one, but on this beta server where we could film there, where they test stuff. And Joanne wrote me this email, but instead of sending it to me, she sent it to him. And it was like, well, Cyan never responded to us and, all this sort of stuff. And Chogan immediately wrote back and he said, oh, I'm so sorry. Were we supposed to respond to you? And I wrote to him and I said, Chogan, we sent this thing back asking if we could do this like 2 years ago. And so he sent me this form to fill out, which was a legal form, which says you can make, it's called fan generated art. It's art generated for fans. It's not generated for anybody else, really. So it's not a commercial thing. And it's really for people doing fan ages, which isn't really what our project was. But we filled it out and sent it back, and Chogan signed off on it, or he said they signed off of it. So we have a piece of paper, a legal piece of paper that says we're allowed to do this as fan art, fan project.
That's good, yeah. Because as probably AJ remembers, a lot of fan projects actually fold because of not getting permission.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And then they go with it anyways. Mm-hmm. And then when the project is almost completed or is already completed, they are stopped. So
yeah,
that happens a lot of times. Fan productions, conversions of games, whatsoever.
Especially if you're doing it to something owned by Nintendo.
Oh yes, yeah, that's another thing.
Well, we had that Nintendo, the Super Mario Brothers for the C64 that came out. The guy was working on it for how long? Like 10 years on and off. Everybody knew about it.
10 years.
Yeah, Nintendo knew about it. Nothing happened. Nobody said anything to him. And finally, after 10 years of work, the guy releases it, and they're like, "Thunk, nope, can't do that."
Yeah. It actually happened recently with a Super Mario conversion from the Nintendo 64 to the PC. Yes, and they axed that as well. Yeah.
Yep.
And it also happened to us when we are originally a disc magazine and we wanted to publish an Amiga version in the browser. And then we wanted to have a license of the operating system, and then suddenly we're into law battles, things like, oh my God, no, we don't want to get involved into that.
Who owns the rights? Nobody wants to step on anyone else's toes. Nobody wants to give us access to stuff.
Yeah. So I totally understand the problem. So it's nice that they actually gave you official permission.
Mm.
Well, they did, and Chogan did basically. And the other thing is, when they first made the tools, and these are for people building fan ages. Now, I think we showed you some that people had made just for us, which we can
exactly.
talk about.
Yeah.
But there are people who've been making wonderful fan ages. In fact, Cesare leads a tour on a Sunday to fan-made ages that aren't in Myst Online. They're in another shard, but they may eventually come over to Myst Online. But they wrote this whole book of rules of what you could and couldn't do in a fan age. And when I finally read it, which is like, 4 years after the project, one of the first things they said, you mustn't touch the borrow. You mustn't mention the borrow. And by that time, our Storyland had taken the borrow off on this whole story arc. So we started putting notes in the front of some of our videos saying this is just one way, because in Myst Online in the Myst universe there's this thing called the Great Tree of Possibilities or something like that, and we said this is just one branch on the Great Tree of Possibilities, so everybody else can take it in another way. But I think Cyan has been very appreciative of what fans have done to keep the world there, the Myst world alive. And there's an annual convention, Mysterium, once a year, and they always have something there. Cesare went last year. It was at Cyan, wasn't it?
The first also. Yeah, there was in Spokane.
It was Spokane, which is where Cyan is located.
And it was the 5th. No, it was the 10th Mysterium or something like that. So it was a special date. That I usually don't do because it's overseas. It's a long trip, but for that time it was nice to be there.
So,
I guess the one thing I could add is it's like many online games, there are public instances and private instances of the various things. So we're gonna a long way to keep the sets in all the filming in private locations, so we don't disturb the people that are online, and that probably helped us stay and keep the filming there. But there was a time where the server was a bit unstable, and they were fearing that it was our activity into doing something, but it wasn't. It's unlikely it was us.
In fact, I think they tracked it down to overload of marker games.
Yeah,
but
there's an in-game things with little dots, like GPS coordinates, and they were meant to be like treasure hunts. So a small number of them. Some people made hundreds of markers, and that probably crashed the game.
Wow!
Of the server.
Incredible. I wonder, are all of you, by the way, connected to the Myst universe since the beginning? Since the first game was actually out of the series, apart from online.
Well, I was, except when they redid it, I was never online. I did all the Myst ones. I had one of the original Mac, it was first a Mac game, and it came out.
Exactly, 93, yeah.
Yeah, and I got the game with my first Mac that I bought.
Wow.
So, yeah, I played all of them. Yeah.
In fact, I started from before. When I was a kid, and I started from the Cosmic Cosmo and the other games they made before it was the online game that I'd never played until 2012, because it was a PC only. For a long time, I was a Mac user too. The original user only too.
The original Myst was very. When I think of it, I think of the Mac because I had just switched to the Mac at the time, and I don't know if it was Myst 1 or 2. I kept getting, every time I'd get something, it would come with a demo of this, and it was like very Mac and very CD-ROM. Those were like the two big things about it.
QuickTime.
QuickTime. Throwing QuickTime in your face constantly.
And it was the killer app for the CD-ROM.
Yeah. So that was that's immediately what I think about with Myst. I can't say that I actually played all the way through it.
I did.
Did you?
I bought the re-release, the deluxe edition.
Okay.
And interesting thing was in '93 when the game was released, the press hated it, at least here in Germany.
Really?
And it was, as we all know, it was one of the hottest sales ever in the video game industry back in the day. So they actually re-reviewed the game here in Germany and suddenly gave it a higher score because people loved it so much. So
yeah, I remember it getting great reviews here, from the atmosphere and all the graphical stuff, because it was it had that sort of thing had never been done before, really, at that point,
Yeah, and so that's interesting. So you are really connected to the series since the start.
Yes, and that was a decision. That was a decision Frank and I argued about a lot. I was determined that we could stay as true to the lore, the Myst lore, as possible. And his argument was, he was arguing, I don't want to do anything I don't want to put unnatural constrictions on us. So I think we've come up with some pretty good compromises, and the SBF have made some I mean, it doesn't always come out in the dialogue. I mean, there's a couple things that Graham sends me the physics and I write it into some snappy dialogue, and then he puts it in Thomas's mouth, and it's just so funny and perfect.
Yeah, because of course my character needs to be the technobabble.
Yeah,
person who's
really of our team, and you do a fantastic job. I mean, they all do for their different parts. That's one of the things I love the best, is working with these guys, and then I get their voice in my head, and then the lines just start coming out. You know, I'll be walking somewhere and I'll see a scene unfold, and yeah, it's that's one of the nicest things for me. And everybody, I mean, Chris, I think Chris's first contribution was you were a stand-in hummer for Frank. Frank is hard to pin down at times, and his character was supposed to hum this song, and then Chris stood in and did the humming, but then then we got Chris. He started right at the beginning with I thought, how did Frank meet you, Chris?
No, I have only contacted Frank on Skype the first time.
But how did he know about you?
I think from remixes from the C64 and Amiga computers. I made a lot of remixes, and I think that's why Frank has my name in his head. I hope so.
Yes, because you are also a member of German Remix Group.
Yes, really. Yeah.
And Chris made a piece of music for our very first preview, and we loved it. We absolutely loved it. And then he did some music for the pitch, and that was wonderful. And then I had Frank used to be our translator, and he would get together with Chris and me, and because and we talk through Frank. And then there was one time that Chris just really wanted to talk to me, so we started using Google Translate, which I use with Pierre-Andre all the time. And then one time his keyboard died, and so he started leaving me voice messages. So we send each other voice messages all the time. But I was talking to him in one of these sessions, and he said to me, oh, do you want me to write some more music? And I wrote back and I said, Chris, you're our composer. You have to write more music. And there was dead silence at the end. And I waited. And then I said, are you still there? I think this was on Messenger on Facebook. And I got a message back saying, Christian Zwang has left Facebook. He's not available. He's in his panic room. And so, I think we were talking the other day. You said, I'm so glad I didn't know at the beginning how much music you wanted me to write, because he would have quit right at the beginning. And he has written some stunning music for us, just stunning. And he's now going to, as is everybody, gets to play a character. He's already done his first voice recording. So,
Ooh.
Wow. Upgrade.
Very nice.
Everybody gets dragged in. Cesare, Joanna, we lost an Australian guy. He was very, very good, but he quit for, I can't remember the reasons, but so we lost our doctor. And Joanna and I just kind of sprung it on Cesare one time when we were doing editing, and we said, Cesare, why don't you be the new doctor? Dead silence. And you didn't answer. You said, I'll think about it. And how long did it take you to make up?
I think I answered the following week.
Yeah.
It's like in Facebook when you ask if you want to attend a meeting and you say maybe, it's a new no, but you don't want to put no, so you say maybe, or I'm interested, but actually you're not doing it. One thing we really should talk about, because you mentioned a lot, Nora, that people were joining and leaving and so on. You are a pretty big group. I mean, I don't know how many people you are, 15, 20?
We're pretty stable now. We've got, we're a bunch of stable geniuses, aren't we?
Yeah. So how much is the stable number?
Well, there's us 5 and Pierre-Andre, and on Sunday there'll be 6. And Asher, who isn't able to come to either of them, and Frank, who isn't able to come to either of them. I'd say about 15. And then the newest people, the 2 new French people, Lou and Yoda. Yoda, who is this amazing wizard. They've just recently joined. They're the most recent people. But otherwise, you are, when you sat in on our filming session, that's pretty much how they go. I think we had more crashes this time. And unfortunately, Graham isn't able to join us because his gaming computers in
my setup is not good at the moment.
So because he usually runs 2 characters. He's been an avatar operator from the beginning. And Terry runs 3, Joanne can run 2. But yeah, we have a good group, and we have to, so 2 of them are in your time zone, AJ. They're very early. They're early birds, so they're usually up at. Terry's usually up at 5. In the and then Joanne is the one who gets stuck with all the late nights because she's in Australia. And
well, AJ, you are going to get up on Sunday at 6. You remember?
Yeah, that's one time though.
Yeah,
that's one time.
Yeah. Poor Joanne. And this is the bad time of year. Oh no, this is the good time of year, because the good time of year, not for during, is it, when the time changes, there's, I think it's easier now.
So we add 1 hour, they lose 1 hour, so it's a 2 hour difference less than what we usually have.
Yeah.
During the winter, it's a bit more complicated to get.
Poor Joanne is usually half asleep in the filming sessions, but she's so stalwart about doing. Oh, and the other people that I haven't even mentioned are the voice actors who are, very dedicated. Andy, who plays Lucas. My sister plays Katya. She's never played the game. She says, "Why am I not being in the interview?" I said, "Lisa, they're going to talk to the people who actually make the films. But I'm the star." She likes to think Katya's the star.
So you
top
got your
billing.
family involved.
Who else is? Oh, and then Danielle. When we did this pitch, we got Ben Berry, who should be there on Sunday. We got David, who should be there on Sunday, the Swedish guy who plays Zarek. And we got Danielle, who's she was a film student at that time. And she did a lot of voice work with us. And she was a member of this film club. She got all these people who came and didn't last at all with us. I guess we were just too hard on them. But her father plays a part. He played Richard Watson. Her brother plays Shorty, and her husband plays Martin Erb, which he hasn't been. Oh yes, he has been in an episode.
So this sounds almost like 20 people already.
At least. And they come and go. Cesara and Pierre-Andre, and we've had a couple times where we've had to have extras, loads of extras, and that's how we got Cesara and Pierre-Andre, because he's the moderator of the thing called the AGM, the All Guilds meeting, which meets once a month. And we said, we need a crowd scene. Can we take all the people who come to be in the crowd? So that's how in Chesra said, oh, yeah, that sounds good. But because he was we got him to play one of they're called I don't know what they're called, the special avatars. We're not allowed to do that in a private instance. We have to do that in a public instance. So we had to move everybody from the AGM to...
Oh my God.
So that's when we got Pierre-Andre, because he will transport people. So, and he played another one. And Graham, you were playing, I can't remember, but you were definitely in that video. And
somewhere in there, yeah.
Joanne and Daphne filmed. And so at the end of the AGM, Chesra said, okay, we're going to do this filming, this scene. If you agree, will you be transported? So Pierre-Andre transports everybody and the whole game crashed. So I think we did that transport twice and we kept losing people. But we did have enough in the end to film that flashback scene. So
that sounds a bit like a scary Star Trek scene where Scotty tries to beam people from one place to another, but they keep losing them. Like, I almost got you.
Yeah, that was kind of
dramatic.
That's dramatic. 2 years ago. Actually, more than 2 years. 2 years into what?
Yeah, I thought it was 3 years, but when I was doing my research, it was only 2 years. Yeah, you've only been, and already you're an editor and you're playing. Yeah, so. And the cameraman.
And you're doing the whole thing then 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. So 2013 is actually where you started releasing the episodes, right?
When did we start?
I mean.
You probably did research.
If I look on your YouTube channel, it said the Lost Art teaser trailer was released 6 years ago.
Oh. We must have started filming at least a year before that, I would think.
We uploaded the pitch video on the 9th of November 2014. We because the prologue we released at Mysterium, and that was the first time we did a group Skype on a live group panel. I can't remember when that was. Oh yeah, it was 2016, the summer of 2016. It was so funny. We were all in the Skype thing like this, and we couldn't hear their side of the conversation. So we're just chatting. Do you remember that, Graham? Chatting away, and it's all going live into Mysterium.
They could have been booing us. They could have been shouting stuff at us, and we wouldn't have known.
I hope we didn't say anything really, really rude. But, yeah. So that was in 2016, the first video, and the next one, which is the 10th video, is going up on the 30th live on YouTube, and you two are both welcome to join us.
Cool.
Yeah, you sent the invitation. I don't know, AJ, if you can do it, but I will be there definitely.
I will do my best.
It's a reasonable hour for you. It's 10 at night I think
me. Yeah.
At 9:30 with chat, the YouTube chat. Again, that late hour is so we can try to hit as many people in the US, and Joanne doesn't have to get up in the middle of the night.
Yeah. So you have. Yeah. Sorry.
We only recently learned about YouTube Premiere, so we started doing as Premiere.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, well, the thing about your project is you have to get people all at the same place, especially if you have to record or film episodes where certain people in certain time zones are playing their part, where others are filming and are on the other end of the time of the day. So I guess that is also why it takes a while to record an episode, right? From what I saw, it takes about half a year per episode, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot of that is post-production and redoing it. And most people, Joanna and I don't, but most people have jobs. And so they're only available at the weekend. So we film. So our process at the moment is to film on Saturdays and to edit on Sundays. And that's one thing that Chesra does.
And nitpick the other days.
And nitpick the other days. Yes. Chesra started.
We are also working on multiple episodes at a time, so.
Yeah.
And they're all phased, so.
Yeah.
Maybe work on 2-3 episodes and then we release. When one is ready, release one, and then. I've
only just finished writing episode 12, and we are filming episode 12. We are in the middle of filming that. Asher and I have got to catch up with the writing. So what we're doing instead is we started to make making of videos. Joanne has done. Chris started it. It was Chris's idea. He sent a video of him composing and talking about composing for the series. And Joanne has done one about doing special effects. And so we're going to spend some time, obviously, nitpicking those videos and getting those in shape while Asher and I try to finish writing.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to consider, you said people have jobs, but most people have family, probably not other hobbies, because you don't have time for other hobbies if you are having this hobby, I guess. But I know when we are working on something, it's getting tiring at some point, because you want to finish it, but there is somebody not available, and you really think, like, what I do now. Do you have such moments where you sometimes think, like, what do I do? Should I exchange a character? Should I hire somebody else, or should I just wait till somebody is available again?
I think this is the first time, and I think this has happened because of the change in our process, because of Chesra, the way he films and he streams while he's filming, and we haven't lost the time that we used to through these constantly having to refilm things because the characters were wearing the wrong shoes or had the funny eyes or whatever. Now that has stopped a lot of refilming. But having said that, after Pierre-Andre joined, I think we refilmed all of season 2 that we had previously filmed, because he brought this wonderful light on the sets. Myst as a game is very, very dark. The locations are dark, and he's doing stage lighting, and Chesra is getting very good. Pierre-Andre hasn't been available for the last couple of months because he's in lockdowns, and it's awkward for him to come when we usually film. And so Pierre-Andre taught us all how to do some tricks. So I've been doing the lighting, and Chesra is very good about telling me where to put it, which I don't even think. I mean, your idea of putting it so that it's coming from a direction where there's actually lights was really good when we were filming on the stairs the other day. So we're all learning all the time, all these new things to do, and it has to be good and enjoyable for us. If it's not for us, we're not going to get. Did you see that message?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. So, Chris, you said you want to make a little break?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not live, so we can cut things out. It's fine.
No problem.
No worries.
No problem.
Okay. Should we just hang up or what?
No, just leave it on.
Yeah, we'll just
No problem.
I'll do it again.
I'm gonna get a drink.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times we have to edit something out, Like sometimes
no,
people,
all the time we have to edit.
Sometimes
stuff
people say something and then they say like, I don't know if I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we have to edit this out. For example, when we speak to game developers that are currently working on a game and they don't know if what they just said is fine with the publisher to reveal.
And we get the email later on. Everything between, the 40 minutes between this and this, we don't want. That shouldn't be in there.
Yeah,
we had that. We had that once. Yeah.
I'm hoping Graham will flag me off if I get any spoilers out.
I think we've been pretty spoiler free. So
yeah. I think
we say something happens in episode 5. Won't tell you what.
Yeah, yes, that was because I am thinking that most of the Myst fans will have seen it, but if we get new people, which we hopefully will, they won't. And I forgot what else I was going to say there. Just talking away. Yeah.
This is kind of it's interesting. You're basically, it's being turned into a open-ended sort of just a world where things can be done in. It reminds me a bit of what Second Life hoped to become, but never quite did.
You mean the actual game?
Yeah.
The actual game, yeah. I'm not so much involved in all that because as soon as we started making this just became what I love to do, and I pour all my energy into that, and making sure that everybody gets stretched. They get to do something different for themselves. But Cesar is certainly involved in a lot of the fan stuff. He knows the language. He knows Dunny, and he gets in these arguments with, which is a totally made-up language, Dunny.
Yeah.
So the boot is back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like AJ always tells me, I impersonate Scene World. I'm living Scene World. And it's like, for you, Nora, this is your little baby, you could say. Your project that you spend all your time with, right?
Yeah, but for me, here Andre is here.
Really? Should we add him?
Wait. Let me go.
See if I can manage to get back in the conversation with them. Toppling the table.
So I just see him. He came away at least. He's online but away. Should I add him to the call?
Try.
I'll try.
He just sent me a note saying he's too late and he was not able to come, but try adding him.
He joined.
He did?
Yes.
Now I've lost everybody again.
Oh.
Hello?
Hi! I think you're there.
Yeah, AJ?
I see a P in a circle, but I don't see a person.
Yeah. Well, Pierre, you should be in the call, right?
That's muted.
Yeah, he just muted himself.
Okay.
But he is in the call.
And I've lost everybody's
video, really?
Video again. I'm going to quit and then I'll rejoin. That's worked.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure.
And I'll be back.
That's weird. That never happened to you, AJ, right? That you lost the video on your Mac?
No. Going to stop my recording and I'll restart it when she gets back.
All right.
Because I'm hoping that this all... I'm not sure how Skype is going to... I know how Skype records it, where they kind of swap out people. And as we discovered in the last one that we did, Call Recorder also does that. So the streams, I guess Skype only actually sends a certain number of video streams. And so there's a little bit of swapping and stuff you got to do.
Right.
But that's when I send you that file, the file later on today, you'll see. I'm going to send you each individual video and audio stream.
Yeah.
And I'll also send it to you, like, kind of exported in a different way.
Sure.
So you can play with it all you want.
Yeah. So what is for you guys the filming is for AJ and me the editing of interviews and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, you have like the best microphone equipment ever compared to other people and groups we interviewed.
Okay, we just got a message. Hang on from
Busy.
somebody.
Yes, PNJ. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. No problem, Pierre. Right. No worries, sir. Yeah, so anyway, what I wanted to say is you have pretty good microphones, which is, of course, necessary for making such a product. But
Yes.
Sometimes you have people like echoing all over, you know?
Yeah, I see a snowball over there, I think.
Yeah.
But a
I have
black
one.
one, not a white one.
Yeah, they come in different colors now. I have a Yeti, but I also have a snowball.
No recently.
I use Yeti for my voice recording.
Right.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
Machinima Grooves was one of the most the copy structure, with the most complex story.
All right. So where did we stop before we had the break? I think, Noah, you were talking about putting lights and learning about where to put lights
No,
on.
I know what I was going to say. You said this was my baby, and I was going to say, no, it's all of ours. Everybody who really, and that's really important for me, that, people feel a sense of ownership. And I do listen to absolutely everything everybody says. That's why I can't remember anything. But
too much overflow. Yeah.
Chizzer is so patient with Joanne and me. I cannot tell you how patient you are. You're like this rock. Either that or you like a turtle and you cover up when Joanne and I are getting cranky during an editing session. But I'm trying to remember all this stuff, and it's important to me to get people to feel, it's their character or it's their thing that really gives it life, the project life. So it really belongs to everybody.
Yeah, it's a group effort, right?
Yeah, the episode is going to be released, and the next one came out as they are now because I started complaining about one scene that was too long.
Which scene was that?
The one in the egg room. It was almost half of one episode, so they said maybe you could split it, and they start adding, and then it became 2 episodes.
Yeah. Yes, there was another use. The other thing was. There's a scene in Chizzer the episode that Chizzer is editing between his character and mine. This is when I keep saying to him, "Who are you? Who did you say you were?" And he and Joanne, there was one long scene where he and I were just talking in the egg room, and he and Joanne said, this is too much talk. So I cut all of my lines virtually, except for that big long line at the end. So poor Chesper had to do all of them. We gave him a flashback, and then I wrote this scene for Thomas with the Barrow in the Allion generator room. A scene which I absolutely adore, which Thomas has to carry, except for these 2 Barrow that are talking to each other. And so we did cut up that scene, but you ended up with more lines than you thought you would. And you fall into the egg room. We made this wonderful sound effect of him tripping over the window and landing on his knee. And Morgan says, "Who are you again?" Who's just fallen into the egg room with me?
Yeah, you have to pull out all the stops for the egg room since it's where it all began.
Yeah. And you probably shouldn't put any of that in because that's in episode 11.
So the egg room is where the idea for this was hatched, you could say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the other thing about the egg room is impossible to film in, because when you're an avatar in there, you can't see your avatar, you can't see your feet, you can't, and it's entirely down to Cesare to say, move a little to your left. No, I mean the character's left, like putting us into position. There are some places where it's just so hard to film.
That was also the part when I was there, right? The act room, because I remember. No.
Oh yeah, the very first thing we filmed. Yes.
Exactly, because I remember one person was like, "You are flying." No, I'm not. I'm walking. Like, you are flying. You have to stop flying. And okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we spent a lot of our time each filming session is with all the glitches. So somebody crashes out, say, and we bring another character. That's where this load clothing thing is so useful, because if somebody's standing there, they can just change into that avatar right there and then. But then sometimes Cesare can't see it. He sees us as a what we call a default avatar. And the cameraman has to obviously see the actual thing. So he has to link out and link back in. And there's all those little, and some of the locations have holes in them. Some people will walk along and then suddenly they'll just fall through the floor. And, we have to be dealing with that all the time too. So.
Incredible. You mentioned magician a couple of times. Maybe we should explain what a magician is.
Cesare, you do that.
I showed them to say that there's some special effect done by the robots. There are actually internal clients with some additional scripts that takes light from certain zones and you move them to create light effects, or move the sort of pillars and then put below areas that normally have no solid floor, so they can walk on places that normally are inaccessible. And so that's why she calls it the magician.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so like that, they're also used in non-public but in public events to create these sort of light shows.
Yeah.
So different robot from Pierre-André.
Yeah, he does a lot of our on-set special effects. But I think you were there for the one we did. Was it this Saturday? No, you weren't there this Saturday. It was the Saturday before.
Yes, this Saturday I was mostly talking to Frank.
Oh yes, that's right. You were talking to Frank. Yeah. No, this Saturday the special effects we did were lighting, and Pierre-André's taught me how to do that, but I need a lot of help as to where we put the light and how high. So yeah.
Right. I'm totally impressed. I wonder, is there anything Siren did for you, put in as a feature, or something that was just made for you so you can even do your filming?
Yes, they did do something for the episode 5, which we won't tell you.
Okay, you don't have to.
Spoiler. It's a spoiler. But recently, Chogan is one of the, he works for Cyan. That's not his real name. It's his Uru name. I don't know what his, what do you call those names?
Alter ego. Nickname.
Yes, yeah. And he does a lot of the maintenance on the server and things like that. And Cyan only operates now, keeps it alive with donations from the fans, from people that use it. So we all try to maintain it. And I had sent them some money on behalf of MystiTech just because we use it like crazy. And Shogun wrote to me, said, a couple of them wrote to me, because I have a dollars account in the United States, so I can send them a check. That it's easier for me to do than send the other ways of donating. I lose a lot of money in the translation. And Chogan wrote back and said, is there anything we can do for you? And I came up with this idea, which both Joanne and Cesare said, oh no, they'll never do that. But they said they would. And I can't tell you, obviously, it's going to be a big thing. And it's really, there's a couple things we asked for. I can't remember what the other one was, but the one, yeah, so, oh yes, I know what it was. Oh, that's all right. I can, no, I won't say. It's a spoiler. For season 3, season 3, and I don't want to spoil them, but they did.
Sure, no problem. So the short answer is yes, they did things just for you.
Yeah, well, Chogan has. I don't know if any of the others watch it or watch The Lost Art. They certainly haven't come back and said we hate what you've done to the Borrow or anything.
The cease and desist letters.
Cease and desist. No, we haven't had them yet.
So you actually have a worry that your project would end because donations stopped to come in?
Oh, we've had lots of worries over the years. We've had lots of worries. That there was a failure in the there was what they called a vault wipe, and we lost. Everybody lost all their
the server database.
Ooh.
All their progress in the games. We didn't care that much about that, but we weren't sure if that would ever survive that. And at the same time, there was a lot of IT stuff. All of our files were on a server in Frank's house, and there was something called the bash bug. I don't know if that means anything to any of you, but it is some IT thing. And he started panicking, and he had to move everything to another server. And so we lost connection with all our game, not our game files, but our film files. And my hard disk died, all like in the same weekend. So the next weekend I was running the game off a backup disk, and do you remember, Graham? We went through, we all repopulated. Everybody got avatars. Like 6
Yeah, everyone had to be at a certain place in the game, and
yes, and you had to get your key, and then we had to recreate the neighborhood, and you have to. It's a long thing where you take people.
Wow.
Get them in, because our neighborhood is private, so we can film anything in our neighborhood without worrying that we're breaking any of the rules. So.
Another thing we can add maybe is that the other games are still sold through GOG and Steam, but the Myst Online specifically runs on donations, and it's free to play because it failed twice commercially. Once with the Ubisoft, of course, and the other time with first GameTap. It was reopened a third time in 2010. On the Amazon instance, but in its runs on donations. Yeah.
Wow! So you actually help keep
the
project
mode.
alive.
Sorry?
So you actually help the project staying alive because you're doing something with it.
Oh, I don't think we were the deciding factor.
Okay.
I think the fans were the deciding factor, the devoted group of fans. Yeah, they've kept it. And I think most of the fans have supported. They've had 2 Kickstarters since then, haven't they? They had Abduction, and then they have a new game coming out. And all the fans joined the Kickstarter campaign. So
also what big Kickstarter was. Abduction was 1.5 million, something like that.
Whoa.
Yeah. For Kickstarter, average it's a big one. So yeah, there's a lot of people interested in science work, especially because for many years it was on the verge of bankruptcy, and then they come back with this last game and the one they're making.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. All right. Well. From my side, that would be all questions I would have. I don't know about you, AJ.
Yeah, no, this has been fascinating.
It's massive. A lot of info.
Yes. Yes, it
And
is.
I'm looking forward to the second part where we'll hear more from the other members. So from the second part of the group.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot more from Joanne and what she does. She does massive amount. David, who plays Zarek and who has done some set building. He built a set for us, and Ben, who's an avatar opera. I forget who else is coming on Sunday. Oh, Daphne. Daphne joined. I had put out I wanted Chris, is Crystal Wesley? Yes, I wanted Chris to be able to understand an episode. So I asked Daphne to create German subtitles for you, Chris. And
Yes.
that's how Daphne joined us. Daphne, great. And she joined us. She's a great avatar operator. She's done some film. And she'll be there on Sunday. And
Great.
Terry is one of the last people to join, and he's composed some music for us as well.
Ah, nice. So you actually have two composers.
We have two composers now. You're the boss composer.
Boss composer.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Before we let everybody go, there's one thing. We let all our guests talk in a little promo, so we could put it in one of our future episodes. And so I guess this would be the perfect moment to let each of you talk in a little promo, like your name, of what you do, and then you are listening to the Scene World podcast.
Okay.
So maybe each of you talks that in, and so we have enough footage to put in one of our next episodes as an intro.
Wait, you want us to do that separately?
Yeah, why not?
If you'd like,
Wait,
or you can do it together,
Yeah.
or
Or you can do it combined, as you like.
I'm not unsure what you. Do you want us
So-
to do it right now?
Yes.
So
So,
it's
yeah.
like, yeah. Well,
Yeah, we
I'll
do a
let
promo.
AJ
It's
yeah.
an audio promo at the beginning of different podcasts, just saying, I'm so and so, I do whatever, and you're listening to the Scene World podcast.
Okay.
And generally, right before we end these, we kind of bug people to do them for us.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we've got you on the hook.
Yes, exactly.
So you just want the four of us, one by one, to say something.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Nora Leonard. I'm director of the Lost Art Machinima, and you're listening to a Scene World podcast.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Great. So who wants next?
Hi, I'm Cesare. I'm camera operator on the Lost Tab, and you're listening to Scene World. No, sorry.
Podcast.
Scene World podcast.
Scene World podcast, yeah.
I'll try again. Scene World podcast.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Hi, I'm Cesare. I'm camera operator on the Lost Tab, and you're listening to Scene World podcast.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess
Who's you gonna-
Graham is next.
Right. Hi, I'm Graham. I am inventor of Technobabble for MystiTech, and you are listening to the Screen World podcast.
Scene World podcast.
Scene World. Let me try that again.
Sure.
This is how all our recording sessions go. as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, my name is Graham, and I am inventor of Technobabble for MystiTech, and you are listening to the Screen World podcast.
Scene World.
Scene World, not
Did I do it
Screen.
again?
Not
You
Screen
said,
World.
you said,
Although
you said
Screen World would be a good name for the podcast.
Scene, like movie scene or something. Yeah.
Like movie scene, as opposed to last try.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Graham. I am inventor of Technobabble for MystiTech, and you are listening to this.
No worries, no rush, no rush.
Hi, my name is Graham. I'm inventor of Technobabble for MystiTech, and you are listening to the Scene World podcast.
Now we got it. Thank you. Perfect. Perfect.
Full try.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now Chris. Chris, your turn.
I try, okay.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Caesar Tunes and the master of the panic rooms. And you listen. Okay, well, that's a joke. Hi, I'm CZ Tunes, and I'm the composer of the Lost Art soundtrack, and you listen to the podcast of Scene World.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, guys. Wonderful.
Thank you much.
Okay,
Wonderful.
I'll speak to you both on Sunday. I won't do
Yes.
talking on Sunday. I'll let the others talk. I'll just be there as the glue, as you called me, the glue.
Yes, the clue between the two parts, Because, all the functions and so on, I guess that would be the easiest.
Okay.
Awesome.
It's nice to see you too. We'll have to do more video meetings. We were going to do that one Christmas. We were going to have
We were going to have a dinner, yeah.
We were going to have a dinner. We can still do that. We'll have a lockdown dinner. A lockdown dinner.
Well, it's the same situation worldwide, except Sweden, I learned. Sweden is the only country that has no lockdown.
Yeah,
okay.
David is still going to work. He's still going to work on the train, yeah. So, anyway, and Chris, I think, had it. Did you not, Chris?
What did you say?
You actually had the virus.
I had the virus.
You were sick that week, didn't you?
No, I'm not sick.
Not now. Before.
Now I have not the virus, but I'm sick yet. My nose is.
Not now. A couple weeks ago. Weren't you sick and in bed for a week?
Yes, but it was not the virus. No corona.
How did you know? You weren't tested. They wouldn't test you.
Nah, they won't test me. I don't know why.
Well, because you weren't in
Because
hospital, probably.
No doctor come to the panic room.
Yeah.
I have no door inside.
No, here in Germany, it's like you're only getting tested if you are in a known high-risk area.
Yeah.
For example,
Chris had it because when he talked to me, you were coughing nonstop, and you had a fever, didn't you? Didn't you have a fever?
Yeah, fever, and my voice is sounds like Darth Vader.
You were very, very sick for a week. I think you had it.
Not the right time to record any voice lines for the Lost Art.
Anyway, it's nice to see you all, and I'll speak to you too on Sunday.
Great.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.
We've really, I mean, after we forgot, I think, when did you talk to Chris about it? 2 years ago? I mean, so excited.
Yes.
So excited.
But AJ, I guess AJ remembers. Suddenly we had so much interview requests, like, oh, I have this game coming out. Can you interview me before it's going to be released in 2 months or in a week or something? And we had a couple of those interviews. So like, okay, this is very time critical. So sometimes we have to push interviews that are not so time critical far away. And
that's all right. It came just a good time. It came at a good time because we're all stuck at home and we could get excited about something. So we really appreciate it. And I really liked having you there on the set, because I don't think unless you go and sit through one of those filming sessions, you have a clue what we do.
You mean AJ now, because I sit through a filming session.
No. I mean you sat through it, and you know what the patience it takes.
Exactly. I don't know if AJ is up for sitting for 2 hours or 3 hours.
I would love to sit through and see some of it. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you're very welcome. Are you really interested?
Yeah.
Well,
are you really interested?
I asked it's 6 a.m. You. Well, I'll send you an invite the next time we're going to film.
Okay, cool.
You're welcome to come and sit. And as I said, Cesar streams it all, so you.
Yeah, so you don't need to be online. You can just watch the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually sent him the recording.
Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah, but hopefully the next time we won't have so much hanging around. We've
Right.
had a lot of hanging around.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very
All
cool.
right, guys.
Thanks a lot.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye
All right, thank you.
bye.
Thank you. Stay
night.
lucky.
Thank
Bye.
you.
You too. Bye bye. Welcome to the podcast again,
Welcome back
guys.
to the podcast.
Yeah, second time. So today we have, of course, Nora again, and the second part of the team, and that would be Joanne Fisher, who is
Hi, everybody.
Hello, who is
I'm from Australia,
exactly.
and I do video editing and visual effects.
Exactly. And then we have Ben Berry. Hello, Ben.
Hello, hello. All the way from New Jersey.
Hey, where in New Jersey?
It's the northern part. Booton is the town that I live in.
I grew up in Pompton Lakes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And you are an avatar operator, and you voice Elias, right?
For the prologue, yes, and then
Exactly. That's what it says here for the prologue. Exactly.
yeah, but
And-
I'm also a MystiTech producer.
And then we have David Wistrand without video. Hi, David.
Hello. All the way from Sweden. Is that far away? Maybe. And yeah, I voice the character of Sarek, and I do a bit of video effects editing as well from time to time. It's been a while now.
Yeah. Then we have Daphne. Hi, Daphne.
Hi, I'm from Germany, and yeah, I originally joined as a German translator, and over the years I've done various things. I've been cameraman, avatar operator, voiced a small role.
Holly Turner, it says here.
Holly.
Yeah.
Holly Turner. Holly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, last but not least, we have Terry Brighton. Hello,
Yeah,
Terry. Britain. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
Britain. Brighton is that place in England.
Ah,
I'm not in England.
that's good to know. And you are an avatar operator, composer, and a voice actor and singer.
Yes, a singer. Okay. Soon.
Alrighty. Yeah. So Nora, you wrote me an email that there are some topics you wanted to especially cover this time, some stories and.
Well, no, I want to talk about what these guys do, but there were some stories that I had forgotten to say the last time that and I can bring up one of them because David is here, and that is people who've built sets for us. So David created, he didn't do the design, that was Danielle for the DRC archives, which plays a huge role in our story. And, but he built the 3D model. And then we have two others, Dulkamara, who's another German contributor. She builds these wonderful big ages, but she has built several sets for us. You were on the film shoot. We filmed in, I think it was the Geneva Cafe set she built. And the other one she built was the Special Projects. And that's, she did Special Projects Office. And a place where you do conference calls, which is meant to be on the base, the Air Force base. And she builds these in Blender, and then she passes them to another wonderful age builder called Patrick Dulabon, and he polishes them up. He's very good at creating amazing lighting effects in them. And then he exports them in a form that we're able to then, as you witnessed, import into the game so that we can get into them. So they're not yet an important part of the game. Well, probably none of our sets will be an important part of the game, but by what he does and what she does, we're able to actually go in the game and act out these scenes on these specially built sets. So I just really wanted to highlight this set building thing, which has made a huge difference to us.
Yeah, and Patrick himself built what's called the Guild of Messengers pub, which is a set that we have used a lot because it's a very big set. So we've used several different locations in it so that when you see it actually in the story, you get the impression that you are actually in different locations. And of course, we're hoping that we'll get more fan sets, and of course, Dolkamara will build more sets for us, but we're not telling you what those are.
No spoilers here.
No spoilers. No. You have to watch the videos.
Right. Yeah. Well, I will be part of the premiere, so I will see a video firsthand. And by the way, AJ, I gave Laura your Skype name, so you should have gotten a request from her already.
I did, and I've accepted it.
Ah, nice. Okay, good.
And I've got my Myst Online account, set that all up. So.
Oh, wow! Come, you can come on set as well.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah. You could be an extra.
Cool.
Jay's in all fours here.
Yeah.
We'll meet you down at the docks.
There you go.
And then we'll transfer you somewhere because it's not worth it to get you into Uru and get all that complicated stuff done. But we can whisk you away from the docks somewhere.
Okay. And
you can we'll have to send you some specs to get you dressed appropriately. But
yeah, I probably look like generic character.
Imagine joining a premiere naked. That would be a nightmare.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, avatars don't come naked.
No.
No beach episodes, sadly.
Yeah, they thought of that one and made sure you can't do it.
Not like in Second Life or something.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yes, we're a family-friendly show.
Alrighty.
And as to the subject of having extras on, I just want to do a small brag.
Sure.
That I actually often have to be extras. I have sometimes 3 computers hooked into the set, doing 3 different avatars. And I actually do it with by playing one keyboard with this elbow and the other keyboard with that elbow.
At least he doesn't have the problem that Misty used to have, because she had one of the computers set up in the next room. And so the director would say to her, okay, Misty, I want all of your 3 characters to walk from here to there. And there'd be a long pause while there was this thunder of feet on Skype as she rushed to the next room and got that character to walk.
Yeah, whereas I have these nifty little wireless keyboards that are small. And so it's really easy to kind of stack them. And I turn one like this way and the other that way, and I line up my arrow keys so they're near each other. All kinds of little workarounds so that I can operate multiples at once.
Right.
It's great because you can get all 3 of your characters to jump at the same time and do all of these simultaneous activities. And you're the only one that can sync like that. Up to that point. Okay, everybody, jump at the same time. Not that we use that very often.
We do. You just reminded me of one of the things we have trouble with when we're filming, especially in the scene where we have like 5 Borrow, and Daphne's a great Borrow player, and Terry will bring in 2 or 3, and we're trying to place them in a certain place, and you have to get the person to jump so we know who is who.
Yes, Borrow crowd scenes are a real problem. Yes.
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 no
Okay.
name
Now, will the
tags.
barrow on the left take 2 steps to the left? No, not that barrow on the left. The other barrow on the left.
We're getting him to play dead, really.
Yeah.
You get to hear Daphne's great laugh. I have to tell David, if I could ever nail you down to do a recording session with me, David, we filmed this scene between Morgan and Sarek, which is really quite funny. And it was great because we kept repeating it to get different angles. And Daphne would laugh so much at the scene, which is good because it means it's going to be funny. But she has this wonderful laugh, and she does get the giggles on set, which makes for a very jolly set.
It does, yes. Yes. Daphne cheers us all up when things are going bad.
Thank you.
And you are also written here as occasional cameraman. So you are helping Casare, that guy from Italy we had in the last part of the
Cesare.
Cesare.
Yes.
Names.
Cesare.
Well, lots of people do little bits of filming.
Oh.
I mean, when we started, of course, Asher was doing the filming, and he did essentially all the filming. But as time went on, Asher wouldn't be available, and we'd have to go in and film something. Or sometimes Nora and I would get a bright idea and leap in during the week and film something, and then we'd get other people to film. So we've had a number of people do filming. Which is very useful, of course, because it means that when we get together, we've usually got somebody who's competent enough at filming that if we have a bright idea, we can actually film it. So if you read the credits, you'll see quite a number of names turn up as doing filming.
How do you normally film stuff? Because I haven't really, I haven't dived too much into the gameplay of the game. Is there like a way to sort of take yourself out of the character and pan around and do stuff like that?
Yes, there is. What we normally do if we've got enough people is the cameraman can be a dedicated cameraman. Then they're not trying to operate the avatar as well, because as you can imagine, if you're trying to operate the avatar and you have to concentrate on that, it makes it very difficult to do anything other than put the camera in some static position, where it's out of your road, and leave it there. So we normally have a dedicated camera person, but yes, Uru comes with some quite extensive camera operations, so you can park your avatar and then you can take the camera away and you can do all the things you need to do it. You can put it wherever you want it, park it there, you can track it, you can pan it, all that sort of thing. The main issue we have is that it doesn't track or zoom or pan very smoothly, and so we've got some really good panning shots, but they're jerky. And nobody that we're aware of has tackled this yet, because what we really need is one of the clever wizard people, from the Guild of Writers, to actually write a program which will track the camera and do it smoothly. But we haven't got that yet.
So maybe let's Daphne explain how you work around those difficulties.
You mean around getting the camera from?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's been a while since I did the camera work, but I will try. So Uru which is the client that we usually use. It's basically the developer client for the game engine. So it's also the client that probably the Cyan people would have used back in the day when they were actually enacting story in the game. And as far as I remember, it was usually a bit. You would have or you would for some things you have like what's called high level commands. So the client has two types of consoles. One that you feed client commands into, and then it has an old Python 2 console that you can use as well. And it was usually a mix of both. So if you needed a fixed shot, so shot from a fixed angle, if I remember correctly, you could fix fix the camera to a certain point, and that could be everywhere in the room, or actually everywhere basically in the age. Because one of the most handy commands of this game is that you can just set your avatar into a certain fly mode, where you can just go into any direction, up, down, side, left, whatever, and then you would. Oh, I remember. That would actually be for fixed shots. That would often sufficient. You just move the avatar to the place, make sure it stays in first person view, and arrange the camera so that it points wherever you want. And then leave the avatar, basically leave the avatar there, and make sure you don't hit any other keys, because then the camera would pan back into its default position.
Wow, you need a lot of patience for that, I guess.
Oh yeah, and one other thing is, usually, especially with scenes of many people, then the avatar operator would be the one to say, "Oh, you over there, we need that shot was perfect, but person X still had their book on the belt. That book needs to go, and we need to do it all again."
Yeah.
Or in the middle, or the other thing, the other situation would be, that was perfect, but right in the middle we got the cheesy beam, which is a blue beam, which would happen when we film scenes in the main city age, and there's a great blue beam going around the age in circles in time periods of, I think, something of 5 minutes or so, someone told me, which is actually a part of the game that we can, or at the time we couldn't easily disable. So yeah, we had a lot of these situations.
Yeah, because you sort of have to film around the game.
Yeah.
You kind of have to film around the game. You know, there's because this actually has like a plot point, and there's things that you're supposed to do in game, whereas some other things, like a Minecraft or whatever, doesn't necessarily have a plot or an end point or anything. So you've got to figure out a way to not have the game intrude on what you're doing.
Yes. Yes.
One of the biggest things there was, in the game, you get around by linking, and you would get around by linking with the Nexus pedestal, which we wrote out of our story. And we started to realize any place we go in the cavern, we're either going to have to go by foot or by boat. So we were having to change our starting off points. Like before, we would have them head off in a direction. We weren't really thinking about it. We had to refilm quite a few of the early scenes so that they would always head off to the docks where the boats are. And then we have this guy, Larry, who gives tours of the cavern once a month and is an expert in all things. And so I would ask him things like, "Okay, Larry, how long would it take to get from the city to Kavir?" which is a location in the cavern, by boat. And so we would have to work that into our plot. That was a big mental thing, especially for Asher and I writing. We had to take that into account. Where are we going to locate certain things? Like the neighborhoods are in the game. The neighborhoods are generally on the side of the cavern wall. Well, we have put, for convenience sake, what we call the team neighborhood in the actual island of Bagheera, where everything is. So that getting to and from certain locations is much quicker plot-wise. But yeah, we have to take a lot of getting around the game mechanics. And that's why we don't use the books, but we do use the wrist devices, the key, which I was just thinking, in order for you to be an extra, you're going to have to get your key.
Okay.
Because that gives you an ID number, which means any of us, Joanne or I, can link you to the set once we have your number. We can't do that until you get your key. So you're going to have to play the game enough to know how to get the key.
Okay.
We'll talk you through that bit.
Getting the key is quite quick.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is quite quick.
It's probably good either way, because
Instructions are very
otherwise,
straightforward.
yeah, it's probably good to get
a
general idea of the game mechanics, because otherwise it'll be like, move left, and it's like I'm pushing buttons. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you might want to play the game. It's a great game. It's an absolutely great game. So
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one that I missed when it was out originally. I didn't have a machine at the time that was capable of playing it. So I think I was still when this
now
came
it's
out.
free.
Yeah.
And it still has the original company behind it, even though it's now open source and free to play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 17 years old or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah,
17,
it was
Yeah.
23. 2003. I think was
And
the
amazingly
release date.
enduring.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't look old. It's not long in
No,
the
it
tooth.
doesn't look old, does it?
Yeah, no, one of the things that I've noticed is that it looks significantly better than something like a Second Life, which is sometimes jarring and painful to even. I mean, it's not fun to use.
Mm-hmm. Well, the artistry behind all the Myst games is always astonishing. The level of artistry and skill.
Yes. I remember when I went into Riven, and I just spent hours wandering around looking at everything. Never mind that I'm supposed to be playing a game and solving puzzles. This is all so beautiful. I just want to sit and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Riven was the second part of the Myst series.
Yes, Riven was the second
just to mention it. I guess it was also the only part of the series not called Myst. I guess it was the only game that was called by another name, if I recall correctly.
Oh,
yeah,
you're right.
and
Myst
Uru.
Exile.
Uru doesn't have Myst in the name.
That's true. Yeah, but also some call it Myst Online.
That's it for now.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
that's the online part of the offline game. Like, but what I also really like about this online game is that as you progress to the game, you can also see how the technology behind it has progressed, because there are areas and ages where you, from modern standards, might not want to look too close at things, because then textures are quite low resolution, especially on modern screens. Like in the main city age, it's comparatively low resolution, which is also because it has to be able to host a larger group of people. And then on the other end, you have ages that were added a lot later. I think the last editions were in 2008. So it's about the same year that the last game of the Myst series came out, Myst 5, End of Ages, and then you get into ages that are really the same quality as the ages of End of Ages.
Now, are the assets on the game, are they stored like game side, or are they remote? Like when you go into an area, does everything have to download to pop up there, or is it just all there on?
Well, you downloaded it initially. You do have to download it all initially.
Yeah, most of the game is stored on your computer. I think you've got, from memory, about 600 meg on your computer, and so and I've noticed the traffic to the game is quite small. So I think you're only sending, signals into the server, which basically tell it where your avatar is and what it's doing, so that other players can see your avatar.
Right.
And obviously, well, I'm not even sure about the switches when you play the game. That might be in your own.
That should make it significantly faster as well. Aside from the fact that it's rated to run on a lower spec hardware because it's a few years old. Also the fact that things, again, that's another failing with Second Life, is that everything is stored server side. So doing anything, walking from here to there, takes 6 hours because you need to wait for every leaf to download on the tree. It's.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everything is pretty much client side on Uru Live, which is why when we do like custom created ages and stuff, everyone has to download those as well and put them in their assets folders. And then aside from that, I think it's mostly traffic to sync up all the players, since pretty much everything is instanced. Like you can have multiple clones or like copies of each world, each age, but they're all online in essence, because you can always have players in your version of a world. So everything is online at all times. You can't really have a local only world space. Everything's pretty much always online.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, when we're filming, of course, there is the problem of lag, because, of course, avatars coming from all the different places will arrive and then be sent out at different times. So the cameraman, of course, will see avatars doing things which they're actually doing in real time simultaneously at different times.
Right.
And just depending on what the internet is doing, there can be nights when it's an absolute nightmare, because avatars just basically don't walk across the room. They go across the room in juddering leaps.
Yeah, we've had a situation. I can remember going up the library steps as an example of it. And in the end, we kept everybody loaded up as Henry to see who could get up the steps with the least lag and the least jumps. And in the end, it turned out to be Cesare had to do it. He had, the cameraman, he had to do it because the lag between, was instant for him, I think. He brought his avatar in, changed it to Henry. But again, that was one of the questions I wanted you to ask Ben.
Yes, Ben didn't say a lot yet. Ben should talk more about the the avatar operation and that, and voice acting.
And also going to the closet, Ben. I asked him to ask you about being sent back to the closet and back in the bad old days. So talk about that.
Yeah.
Poor Ben.
Before converting to Uru. Oh man, those were agonizing. And they'll probably send you to the closet many times.
Yeah, because you won't have the Uru client to load clothing. Yes, poor Ben. He'd arrive on set. We've talked about this before. Before we got the load clothing files, you had to go into this closet and select your clothing and your shape and head and everything. And poor Ben would turn up, and either John and I would take one look at him and say, Ben, you got to go back to the closet. You got your shoes wrong, or you got your, poor Zarek. What have you done to his nose?
Or we made Henry look like he gained a lot of weight.
Oh yeah, that's the fat face syndrome, which we have now and again. We got to check that. But the loading clothing thing, I don't think you've played, David, since we've done that. In Uru, they've got this new thing where you can say load clothing Zarek, and you get you turn into a fully dressed and properly shaped Zarek.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, so when we're on set, if somebody who's playing Zarek crashes out, one of the rest of us just turn into Zarek. I mean, an interesting factor of that is if you are currently a female, you have to go through this process. You have to say, male me. So you have to turn into a male first to turn into one of our male characters. And even then, you have to have a couple checks, because sometimes that process can end up with a distorted avatar.
Wow. Undefined.
So changing from a female character directly to a male without male me, can cause real problems.
Yes.
Whoa. So you have an undefined gender issue.
Yes.
Wow.
Unless you're a borrow.
Make good character development.
Well, I mean, we mentioned in the first part already, the game was never designed to do filming the way you do. So you are misusing the game and not actually playing it, but making a series like for television. With the exception you put it on YouTube. So, right.
Yeah, it's exactly like doing a TV show or a movie. With reshoots and the whole thing, and just following a script, doing things in segments that aren't necessarily contiguous. Sometimes you have to go back and a new scene has been added, so you have to insert that at a later time, and or you realize something is the continuity is totally wrong, or the background had one of those blue lights going through it, and you have to go reshoot it. And so there's a lot of reshoots and additions, and that's part of what makes it take some time.
Right.
But it's okay. It's amazing that the Skype has let us all stay in touch worldwide in order to make this thing, and now we're also
Terry, don't jinx us.
And now we're starting to use Zoom as well with the music production end of things, because it's got the high quality audio capability that takes a bit of jumping through hoops to set up, but once you've got it set up, you get stereo audio that's not compressed.
Don't tell me about it. We had this one interview when we were forced to use Zoom because the PR company, which is a big PR company, even making PR for Canon and other big companies, and suddenly they are confronted and that an interview has to be recorded with a compared small hobby project, and they totally didn't get the settings right, so we had like SD quality video to use.
Yeah.
That was a pain.
The video quality, yeah.
Yeah.
But the audio now can be set to high quality original sound, they call it. And there's a good video on YouTube that shows how to set it up. And you have to do it in two places, at your profile online and in the app, and set it in two spots. And then you get stereo, but otherwise, and I don't think it records when you're recording. I've been watching some digital performer webinars, and they discovered that even if they had the original sound setting turned on for the viewers, it did not go into the recording when you record from Zoom. And so they had to record the audio as on a separate app simultaneously in stereo.
Yeah. And the worst thing
Of course,
is
the great advantage for us is this allows Terry to correct the sound on my
on the Premiere edits
on my video. Well, I'm editing it in Premiere, and he can correct the sound from the other side of the world.
Yeah, we do sound balancing from across the globe.
Yeah.
And that's not possible in Skype because Skype compresses the sound so much. You really don't know what you're getting. And so now I can actually hear the audio.
That's true.
And tell how the mix has got to be, basically this has got to be louder, this has got to be softer so it's all balanced and balanced with the sound effects.
Well, let's talk about the music productions because you handle the music for it too, correct?
Well, I don't handle it. I do a very small amount. Chris does the lion's share. Beautiful stuff.
We had Chris in last time, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah. He told us about his panic room. When Laura told him, you are now the main composer for all the production.
Exactly. It's like he was thrust into this. Here's this rocker who was thrust into doing film music. And I'm not used to doing it either. So it's it's really challenging and exciting though. And it's letting me pull out I'm more of a synth guy, but it's letting me pull out all my orchestral instrumentation and actually make some use out of it. And getting the hang of doing the orchestral instruments is, its own challenge and learning curve. But that's when you're mostly from a synthesizer orientation. And but it carries through, and it's great because one thing I love doing, in fact, I've been relying on this, is working with Nora and Joanne on getting the sound so it's the right kind of music. Because I'm usually doing specialized segments, not the general background music or incidental music, which Chris has been handling. He can work very well on an entire segment, and they give him an entire segment to do, and he creates something that carries that mood. And he gets quite a few, well, that's not quite it type of things too. But when I'm working on these little short things where there's only a few seconds in duration anyway, it's so great to just be able to work live via Zoom and get the instantaneous feedback. Well, how's this melody feel? No, that's not quite it. Well, how about this? And we get to work together. And so it's fantastic because here we are doing this, across the globe, across all these time zones, with me working at 6 a.m, of course, fully awake. And but getting this accomplished like this is just so much fun, and it's just so bleeding edge. You really feel like this is modern times.
Yeah, Chris, I asked Chris if he ever wanted to do that with us. I said, this is what we do with Terry. And he said that he can't because his recording setup is entirely isolated. He doesn't have it connected to the internet. So he has to do it. So he'll come to the editing sessions when either Joanne is editing one of hers or Cesare is editing one of his episode, and we put some of his music in, and we kind of spot that way. With Terry, we're actually doing spotting on the video. The video or in your setup, but with Chris, we more or less say, now here, Chris, is where we want this accent or whatever. So we can't work that way with him, but he does come back to us. We've had several send you back sessions. I think the biggest one was that he just finally did an amazing in episode 1, the arrival in Dunny, which I think we sent that music back so many times. And he said he's the final version. I wrote this down because I think it is so funny. The name that he gave to the piece of music, if I can find it. I don't know if I can find it. I probably won't be able to find it, but it went on and on and on about how, episode whatever, final version with this removed and this added. I mean, that was all in the file name because we'd sent it back.
The world's longest file name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he does this as a humor, but he was in the panic room for that. That's the only time I think we really kept sending a piece of music back for him. Although I think the transmigration ritual is getting a bit like that for him as well. But
yes. Hopefully, we're not going to equal that record with the transmigration music.
No.
So now I know. Now I know what the 255 character limit in the file names for Windows is for.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would like to talk a bit about is 3D modeling and special effects, because David didn't tell us a lot about his works, and in my list he's written down as special effects, DRC archives, and build 3D models. So maybe David tell us a bit about those things.
Yeah, I guess I've tried my hand at doing a bunch of different things on this project so far. Especially when I joined, there was a period when I tried doing a bit of everything. So when I heard people discussing about like 3D models and adding those to the game, and I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. I want to try adding 3D models to the game too. So I kind of downloaded Blender back then and tried messing around with models, and also tried using another 3D modeling software that I had access to. That was 3ds Max from Autodesk. So I don't even know how we got started with the archives models, where that idea came from in the beginning, but somehow I got sent ideas and sketches that I think Danielle made in the beginning, and Nora just somehow pitched these models to me, or at least the design of the thing, and asked for like ideas of how can we make this appear in the game, how can we make this look real in the game. I think we were aiming mostly for like a 2D imposed version back then of the models, just something like that.
That's right, we did start that. We started.
Yeah, so in the beginning it was supposed to be some kind of overlay, I guess, 2D effect, but we ended up just going for like trying to edit it and layer it into one of the areas in the game, the desert area from the beginning of the game. And after a bit of fiddling, it kind of worked. And we got a bunch of help from Dubes as well, because we had some issues with lighting, I think I remember. But yeah, so that was an interesting thing to try out. And the archives models, it's there now. It works. I have no idea how any of it works anymore, because it was so long ago now. But yeah, it was just a thing we made, and it worked, I guess. So that's good.
It looks great. It looks great. You'll see it in the prologue and in episode 1. Where yes, I remember when David first paged it in, and we all went down there, and we were all sort of running around and saying, "Oh wow, you know,
it's actually there."
Yeah, and we can walk around it, and it's real, and we can go inside, and yes.
David was another one of the people that joined, and he was doing our the person who was playing Zarek had left the project, and the new guys, that was Ben and David and Danielle, who had come from the pitch, were being avatar operators for a scene. And when you'll see, AJ, when we film, the people who are acting the avatars, we don't have the actual voice actors doing it. Rarely. Sometimes I play Morgan, so I voice her voice on the set. But usually it's somebody else who's ever operating that avatar. And so David was just talking, and afterwards Danielle and I said, "Hey, I think we find our Zarek," you know. So we came back, and yeah, you've been a fantastic Zarek. You know,
key role.
You had to, because the first scene you do, you're like 20 years younger, isn't it? Isn't he? How much younger?
25 years younger. No, 15 years younger.
15 years younger. So
yes, because the prologue is set in 2025, and the main action starts in 2040. So yes. So
Danielle, I think, coached you, didn't she, David? Didn't Danielle? Because she was studying voice and sound in her film course at the time, so she did a lot of voice coaching to us when we were doing some of the. I think she did all of episode 2. She sat in on all the voice recording things.
Yeah, she coached me for the prologue.
Yeah.
Wow, so you even got professional voice acting coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we used it. We did take advantage of it while we had it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she taught me, because I do most of the audio dialogue processing, and she taught me all of how to do that. So, yeah.
Yes, because when we started, of course, I don't think any of us had a film background. So most of us were learning from the ground up. And all these people kept turning up and saying, well, look, you know, I'm actually a professional in, and we'd say, great, you know, come and give us a lesson. So we've had lessons from all sorts of professionals along the way.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I guess we right now we only covered the tip of the iceberg, and it's already impressive for me.
That never happened.
Faye joined us and put her hand up to be a voice actor. She said she was interested in doing voice acting. And for somebody who wants to be a voice actor, this was a real baptism of fire, because she has to speak in a foreign language. And a language that she'd never heard before. So when she came to do her lines, we got somebody in to coach her. But of course, she found it incredibly difficult, because if you don't know another language and someone comes along and teaches you how to pronounce it, but then you have to actually come out with the lines as though it's natural. I think Faye deserves a special mention for that. Yes, there are times when we give our people very difficult things to do.
It's reminding me of that one scene from the Pink Panther of Steve Martin, where he's playing, you know, the French inspector, and he's having English lessons, and he's like, hamburger. And like,
yes.
And like, I guess you have to cut this in, because this is amazing, you know. And then the language trainer is trying to get rid of his French accent in the English, and like, oh my God. But Ben, you wanted to say something, I think, because you raised your hand, and then.
Well, I was going to say that you should also watch the invitation video that Nora and the team put out there, because if it weren't for that, I wouldn't have been involved in this so many years back.
The pitch video.
Pitch video, yeah.
Yeah.
We got David, and David, I wish I still had that. David wrote the most wonderful email singing his own praises. It was so funny. And not only it was so funny, I'm an all-around wonderful guy. And then he said, but I might not have so much time to work for you because everybody else wants me as well, which is, I mean, you have been wonderful, David.
Hang on, did I write this?
You wrote funniest email. And,
Wow.
yeah, I really miss work. And another thing that I tell Joanne repeatedly is I have sat with you while you've done certain visual effects, watching you. So Joanne has to do this horrendous thing called rotor brushing, which she can explain what it is. And I sat with David while he did one scene that he was going to put a visual effect in, which was Eric turning around and walking out, and you know the egg projecting that red angry light on your back. And you rotor brushed that, and I think I cooked my dinner while you were doing this because way back.
Yes.
And you were going.
Yes.
And it's so long, and so I'm always very conscious. Joanne doesn't complain, but I really try. There's some things that she just has to rotor brush. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to film it. But I do.
Yes, there are two scenes. One in episode 1. And the other one in episode 9, where the only way we could get what we wanted was for me to basically effectively rotor brush the entire scene. You know, when I looked at these scenes and realized what I was going to have to do, I thought there is nothing for it. I'm just going to have to rotor brush in every single character to make this work. And each of those scenes took me 2 weeks.
What is rotor brushing?
It gave me a real appreciation of effects-heavy videos. You know, I thought, you know, here am I doing a tiny little scene, a scene which lasts less than a minute. And this is 2 weeks' work.
Can you tell us a bit?
You know, there are films out there which are nothing but effects.
Right.
Can you tell us a bit about what is this rotor brushing for the people who don't know it?
Okay, I have made a video which I can send you, which you can put in at this point if it will make it clearer.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. But briefly, the word goes back to rotoscoping. When people were making films and they were filming outside and they wanted to put something in the scene that wasn't there, what they would do is they would paint it on a sheet of glass and put that in front of the camera, which, you know, put that in into the scene. Now that we have these modern tools, this is developed, but what it basically involves is you put something into the scene, which means, of course, you put it in front of the scene, and then you have to paint back in that part of the scene that it covers. And you use rotor brushing when what you're painting back in moves, which usually means it's something like a person walking in front of the particular object, because it's going to be different frame by frame. So you can't just carefully draw a mask around it and that's it. You have to effectively draw a mask, you know, a pixel perfect mask around it every single frame. And so there's a special piece of software which, when it works, helps you do this. When it doesn't work, it's a pain. And when it doesn't work, I draw a deep breath and say, okay, Nora, I know what I'm doing for the next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
we have one clip where I did the rotor brushing and it took me 10 days, and I only did it on the first half of the clip, and I've sent it to Cesare. It's in it's in his episode, and said, look, Cesare, will you put this in and check that you are only using the part of the clip that I've rotobrushed. Because if you need more of the clip, then let me know, and I'm going to have to rotobrush another 3 or 4 seconds, which is another week's work.
Terry, you wanted to add something, right?
Well, just for an example, for people wondering what this effect is, like Mary Poppins was one of the first feature films to use a lot of rotobrushing, and to get the animations on top of the live action. And but they did it by the glass method, the old glass method. And
well, they were presumably filming, not videoing.
No, but what I mean is that's how they got the animated characters on the filmed characters, was by doing the glass plate effect technique. So they didn't have to do a mask because it was literally painted on a piece of glass that's put on top of the film. And each plate, each and every segment was blown up to a full size plate and reshot with the plate. So she didn't have to make a mask, whereas now with the software, you have to make, like she's saying, this meticulous pixel perfect mask, which blocks out what you're going to add to make a hole for it to be inserted in, and so that it doesn't have any edges that are that you don't want to be showing. And where this really gets hairy for her is like if you try to do a scene like in one of the caves with the moving lights, and they're always moving, or anything else that has a permanently moving portion of the set.
Well, even the avatars, even if the avatars are just standing there, their heads are moving around.
Yes, the avatars in the game come with what's called this idle animation, so that it means that when people are just standing there, they don't look frozen. Which is good from the point of view of filming, of course, because it means that if you've got a group of people standing around, they look natural because they are moving. But of course, when you actually come to do special effects that involves one of these people, then you have to take this into account. And I'm in the process of making my making of visual effects video, and I address the two big issues with this. One is rotobrushing and the other one is motion tracking, because motion tracking is another wonderful tool when it works, but we have a number of places where I've used motion tracking and it hasn't worked, and once again it's a case of putting it in frame by frame. And we only film at 30 frames a second, which these days is quite low. I think a modern feature film films at about 240. But I can tell you, if you've got a half-minute clip, 30 frames a second, that's 900 frames. You get awful sick of that object by the end of it.
It was Frank's backpack. Not Frank's, Alex's backpack that kept floating.
Yes.
Yeah. And just talking about people standing around in the idle animation, we have since, because now we're getting so much better at this, and we're particularly Joanne and I, when we're looking, and Cesar, when we're looking at when we're editing, we start to spot the background characters, and they are just standing there like this. They may be moving their head a little bit, but in reality, they'd be talking to each other. So we have refilmed so many scenes where even the main action is in the forefront, but the black pairs were saying, you have to talk to each other or do something, because it just does not look natural. And we're to the point now, when we first started, we wouldn't notice this stuff. But now we really know our eyes are attuned, as we call it, to nitpicking, going through and putting this on the to-do list. We spot all these little things.
Yes, Nora and I would really like to remake season 1. Because of course we have learnt so much that now when we look at season 1, all Nora and I can see is I could do that so much better.
Yeah, but well,
Yes.
you have to accept your roots, your beginnings.
Yeah, and
Yes,
yes. The
Yes,
change.
I think it's a bit unfortunate with the Lost Art that unfortunately the prologue, which of course is the very first episode, was me learning editing. And it's a really bad idea to have your introduction done by somebody who's learning on the job. But we didn't have a choice about that. It was either that or it wasn't going to get edited. So if anybody who is going to start watching it, if you look at the prologue and say, well, I don't think much of the production values, stick with it. We get better.
Right. I mean, we also had to learn on the job when we started our magazine 20 years ago. I guess it's quite natural. And the idle animation you mentioned, Noah, I remember, and I think we mentioned that last time, when people started talking and they started moving their heads, and
the avatars, for whatever reason, they turn to their side when they start.
So we have to position them just right so that they're facing the camera correctly, or at least facing their subject correctly while they're talking.
Yeah. But maybe let's Daphne a bit explain about the process. How do you actually time with camera position and character movement while talking? Is there anything you make anything special you do to make sure you always get into the right position when the character talks?
You mean moving the camera there, or
exactly?
Getting the avatars
What
right
is
position?
the whole process? I mean, do you have written down in which direction, what angle the character turns when he talks, or? I mean, there must be a process to make this easier nowadays. So you know it better than you knew it at the beginning, I guess.
Well, I'm not. I should clarify that I'm not the camera person right now.
But I'm asking you as avatar operator.
It's been 2 years since I did the camera did the camera work for the last time, I think.
But I'm asking you as an avatar operator. That is what you do recently, no?
Yes.
So how do you work in that way as an avatar operator?
As an avatar operator, you mostly sit there and listen to, because it's usually the camera guy or Nora or Joanne spotting or having the idea of where exactly the person should be, and then you do the rehearsal 3 or 4 times before you actually film. And so then we see, that's you're not facing directly, or maybe the other. If you talk to someone, then the other person would say, he's not facing me.
It's really bizarre, because if you're an avatar, you can be in first person or in third person, in which case you can see where your avatar is in a certain scene. If you're in first person, say I was filming with Joanne and I was looking straight at her in my avatar and she was looking straight at me, from the camera's position, we couldn't, it just doesn't line up like that. So it really needs the third person, who's either me or Cesare. If I'm not avatar operating, I'm looking at his stream and we then get people to turn. So you can actually, and another thing is, like I said the last time, we save our marks. So the avatar operators save their marks. And from one angle, they could be perfectly lined up correctly. So we get back to the mark to film it from another angle. And then they're looking, like the two people are having this very intimate conversation and they're, both looking the opposite direction. It's in the game, it's just something about the physics of the game or whatever, that it's not consistent the way it would be on an actual film set. I don't think. Do you think that's right, Joanne? That sometimes when you're looking, and you're looking right at the other character from the perspective of the camera, you're not.
Yeah. Ben, you were going to say something?
Yeah, just to clarify, you guys can save your position. I can't.
Oh yeah.
If I save my position, I warp. I will warp to another part of the age, and I'm like, what just happened? I'm like in a totally different part of the age.
That's happened to me.
No,
Yes.
I can't do that.
Yes, we're dealing with a computer program here, and as we discovered before we started recording tonight, there are times when computer programs do not do what they are advertised to do.
No,
Okay.
no. Just last
Yeah.
week that happened to. Wasn't that Nora? Was that
Yeah,
happening?
yeah. I had saved my position and I did return to save, which is WS. I don't know, warp to save. That's what WS stands for. And I ended up like on my Relto or someplace. I just
That's right.
Yeah, in your Relto. Exactly.
Yeah.
place. So yeah,
Doesn't always behave.
no.
But it's so useful being able to save the positions, though. It does usually turn out to be pretty useful. And my favorite part, as far as rehearsing, and so who cares about rehearsal if you don't get it right during the shot, is a walking and turning. Okay, you have to walk here and turn to face your person. Good grief. No, I don't think any of us know how to walk a straight line, let alone turn and stop at the right time. So those take multiple reshoots.
That's right. Yes. Yes. If my avatar has to turn, then we know we are going to have to shoot this scene several times.
Yeah.
That's why Daphne's character is called Holly Turner. It's because
She turns all the time.
well, not her specifically, but we all have to, and it is just. I think Asher was filming. He was filming Misty, who was filming. This is the person who did Avatar Operating before, and she had endless turns to do. And Asher said, "All right, we're going to name an avatar Turner because of this." Yeah.
One thing that would interest me, and I know we didn't ask it the first time, how do you guys agree on the story? I mean, that must be difficult to have a story that is suitable for everybody, that everybody says, okay, I can identify with my role, with my story. I guess it's like with normal filmmaking where everybody wants to have an important role in the series, and no?
Yeah, we Avatar players do what we're told.
Yeah. Basically, we have
Creators do. I mean, character like it's Asher and I that write the scripts, and it was Frank and I who really did the story, and Joanne and Graham and Frank contribute a lot of backstory to the story. But we write the scripts, but we would definitely, I find characters change as people are assigned them. I think Joanne has had a lot of input on Beatrice. David Zarek has changed the role of Zarek quite a bit because of his nature. He's brought more humor to it, and he's not the original. The original Zarek was much more aloof, but David Zarek is much more human and is great to write for. So, and also when we're doing voice recording, we have to change lines sometimes because people say they stick up for their characters. My character wouldn't say that, or my character can't say that. So there's some words. Andy and I, Andy who plays Lucas, there are a couple things that we had to rewrite several times because he just couldn't. It was just awkward for him to say it, being Austrian, and it was awkward for him to say those things. But the words that we as English speakers write don't always sound right coming out of other people's voices. But so I do listen. I change and I listen. Yeah. So they're allowed to give input, obviously, but the story definitely gave me. And I cannot remember what it was. You gave us a couple ideas that we put into the script. Can you remember any of those? There was one you said, "Why don't you do this?" And we added that. I cannot remember at the moment.
I think I remember I once had an idea about something like for that you then turned into an advertising clip for, I think, season 1 or season 2. That was like a letter found by someone or read by someone of the memory of
I'm glad you.
I don't.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the old character that we have.
Katya.
Katya. Yes.
Well, yeah.
So, like,
you could have said letter, and then I turned it into her book, which is, which has excerpts from her book have appeared as quotes. In many places. Yeah, maybe that was the idea. And I actually, Joanne, I was even thinking that we could use excerpts from Katya's, which we would write specially for it, to be in the breaks between some of these, the making of films.
That's a good idea, yes.
So I did think of that. I'm glad I'm saying that now to all of you, because I will have forgotten it.
And you have it recorded, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
No going back.
The other thing is this, what we talked about recently, which I think would be a spoiler if I said it now, about the name.
Then we'll just if it's a spoiler, we'll get you to cut it. We'll get them to cut it.
More work for AJ, yay.
What I said about Lucas's name.
Yeah. No, that's not really a spoiler. But yes, I'm definitely going to add that. That's not so much a spoiler as a long-running joke, which is going to end with yeah. I remember that. No, you don't. You can cut that because you don't need to know that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So from my side, I would say we got it covered.
Yeah.
That were all my questions I had so far. I'm really glad we got everybody together. I guess the last part will be a single chat with Frank. So
nail him down for that one.
Yeah. But before we let everybody go, we have this.
I think Ben has something he wants to say.
Yeah, Ben, sure.
Yeah, there was actually one thing I remember suggesting you to Nora. It was back like when we were showing earlier scenes of the Cleft, when they were like going through. Zarek was going through certain areas. And I suggested to you, hey, that panel that's over there on the side, it looks like it's like lit, like, so we, you guys dimmed it down so it looked like a little less active and more offline or dormant, I would say.
Oh, that's right. I remember. Yes, I remember. Down in the Cleft. In the house, and I remember Ben saying, the door lights up, the thing on the door lights up to say that the power is on, and Ben was saying it's on and it shouldn't be. Yes.
Yeah. So
I remember that. Yes. Yes, that's the sort of thing we do all the time.
Little continuity tweaks.
Right.
But nobody noticed when Morgan changes her shoes in the middle of thing. That was one of the things that drove me crazy. And the thing that I was going to tell you, and Joanne wouldn't have noticed that I wore the same top that I wore in the first interview, but I wore 2 different necklaces, which is in honor of Katya losing her necklace. We had to refilm so many.
Yes. No, I noticed you were wearing a different necklace. Yes, but I didn't realize that this was
a favorite one. But it's also Holly Turner. She really shouldn't be wearing a necklace as she's in the military. But we have 2 versions of her. One is Holly No Neck, which sounds like. But we have a Holly No Neck avatar, which is when she's not wearing her necklace. So in the scenes, and Beatrice would lose her wrist device all the time. So yeah, so the continuity thing is a major nightmare for us.
Yes. Poor Beatrice. I don't know how it happened that she suddenly lost her wrist device, but all of a sudden, of course, she got a call on it. Yeah, and it's like, oops.
Yeah. Yes, the wrist devices.
Maybe we could say like.
No, I'm just going to say the wrist device is a game thing that we wrote into our plot. Which we made the modern ones, which has allowed us to, Joanne, again, to create visual effects, compositing on various things. Like they've been in lots of episodes so far, so that the character, and those are quite tricky to film, the shots with, and of course, who wears a wristwatch on their hand, which is where the key is. But we had to do it that way so that we didn't have to cover those up in every single scene.
Right. Yeah, because you can imagine, if we've got 20 avatars in the scene and 30 frames a second, and I've got to go through and paint out the wrist device on every single one. No, folks, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
It's allowed us to show an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah. Incidentally, when you look at the wrist device and you see the close-ups, you'll see the one that's been designed, and it's been designed for us by Larry Fontenot, who is a wonderful graphics artist and has designed a number of things which we have put in. So, yes, including a book, for example. Yeah. And Larry being Larry, I said, look, Larry, I need a book. So that was fine. He gave me a book. That was the easy bit. I said, and we need some Denis writing in it. And what we got was 2 detailed pages of something that was incredibly accurate, because he said, everybody will know that I wrote this, and every other member of the Guild of Writers will be checking for grammatical errors.
So he even has a little Easter egg item in there.
It even has a little Easter egg in it, yes.
And it was Larry who coached Faye to speak in Dunny. Yes. He's done a lot of work for us. Yep.
Yes.
Nice.
Cool. Go to find out what you're doing and to watch previous episodes that are released. I guess the first season is out.
And 4 episodes of the second season's out. And we've got lots of previews and things. MystiTech Productions on YouTube. I think it's a simple, if you type in MystiTech Productions, you should find the YouTube channel. And similarly on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, but I will send you guys the links.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll
I already have the links. I use them for research.
Yeah, and we'll put links to everything in the podcast description and on the video version, probably right down there somewhere.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for sitting with us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.